But what I was gonna get into, Gojo and Sukuna. As I said it from the beginning. Sukuna was gonna win. Sukuna was stronger than Gojo. What did all the Gojo fans say? What did all of the Gojo gobblers wanted to say? Let me not spill my bowl. They were like, no. Sukuna's a fraud. No. Gojo is stronger. I've been saying it from the beginning. Gojo was not the strongest. And he never was. And he never was. I like Gojo. I do like Gojo a lot. But, hold on. If we're being so real, if Gojo won that fight, the story could not have continued. Like, he would have just teleported to Kenjaku, killed him there. He would have teleported to Uraume, finished her there, done, dusted, and everyone would have went home. That's as simple as that. If Gojo was truly that strong, that would have been the story. And I was about to say Ryuji. Oh my days, my Persona brain. Yuji would have legit just been a side character. He's not the MC if Gojo would have won that fight. But people, what they've been doing is they've been trying to rewrite history now. They've been trying to say, and especially these, I'm not gonna say names, but especially these JJK TikTokers, I'm calling all of them out. They were like, Gojo's the strongest. Sukuna's a fraud. They were saying Sukuna needed the 10 shadows to beat Gojo. Sukuna needed blah 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 blah. And then Gojo goes ahead and says, hey yo, I ain't gonna lie, I don't think I could beat him. Even without the 10 shadows, I might have been finished. Hey, you know what? That's Sukuna, brother. Hey yo, he's looking kind of nice still. You know what? I feel a lot less awkward about this if I wasn't recording. If I wasn't recording this for YouTube as well. But oh my days, so much was being said. So much was being said by them TikTokers. They were lying like so many times. Like I was legit keeping up with every chapter. They were all lying. Like they came to a point where they were saying, oh, especially when Kusakabe in the manga said that Gojo won. I remember this clearly. Even the TikTokers were saying, oh, the narrator said Gojo is won, so he has won the fight. Bro, you know what's gonna happen with Sukuna? Kenjaku's gonna hop in and help it. I'm thinking, what's Kenjaku going to do? What is Kenjaku going to do? Hop in and die? I don't know where people were thinking that was gonna happen for. They were like, oh no. Well, Kenjaku's the mastermind. He's the true villain of the series. So what's gonna happen? He's gonna hop in and he's gonna use his curse manipulation to take Sukuna. And then they were saying that, well, what can happen is Kenjaku can get him out of there and then he can come back for a rematch. I'm thinking, rematch? You want a rematch? What's Yuji going to do that? I was so confused on what people were coming up in their heads. The only thing I was thinking is this. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree, because people have the exact same opinion the other way around. But I'll explain exactly what the reason why I think the way I think. If Gojo won that fight, that would have been bad writing on Gege's part. And the reason why that would have been bad writing is purely because you undermined your strongest villain. So now he's not going to be taken as seriously. Just the same as Gojo now is not really taken as seriously as the strongest. You know, we've all seen the memes now. But the villain is way more important than a side character who's a hero. Let's be honest. So if Gojo won that fight, Sukuna would not have been taken that seriously. Kenjaku would not have been taken that seriously because he's weaker than Sukuna. And it would have legit just ruined the stakes of the entire series. Like, there legit wouldn't have been a point for anyone else to do anything. And the whole point of Gojo's character is that he wants the next generation to step up and be stronger and better than him altogether. But, for some reason, people did not want to see that story arc go out. But, thankfully Gege saw it as well, and he killed off Gojo, which was what was needed to happen. But the reason why people are saying that Sukuna winning is bad writing is because they're saying that, it's the same thing basically. Because Sukuna is so strong, he can just clap everyone in one hit. That's not the point. That's not the point. First of all, obviously, Kashimo, please don't sleep on please don't sleep on Kashimo. Obviously, we're gonna watch a video in a little bit. I have to go into this little, But Kashimo's still there. Kashimo is still available. And sorry about that. And straight up, like, oh, now what was I gonna say? I completely forgot. Oh, straight up, like, each of the other characters, like, even though they're not as strong as Sukuna, the whole point is how are they gonna overcome that hurdle. That's the whole point. Because as a Jujutsu sorcerer within the story, you need to have big hurdles to overcome. You get me? Like, that's the whole point. Like, you can't just be born the strongest and just go about it. You have to go through, like, trials and tribulations. That's the whole point. You get what I'm trying to say? That's why Sukuna's strength is seen a lot more legitimate than Gojo's strength, because Gojo was just born with the 6 eyes and limitless techniques. But yeah, honestly, that's just my take on the fight, to be honest. I think this fight was written great. I think people also saying that, like, oh, well, Gojo wasn't, like, because the Gojo fans are trying to take this as well. They're trying to say that, oh, he was beating Sukuna the entire fight, when no, Gojo clearly lost the domain battles. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna cap. He lost the domain battles, and we know this because he lost the first domain, and then what happened then? He got hit by Cleveland Dismantle within the domain, and then he had to resort to barrier techniques. And lots of people are gonna say, oh, Sukuna just pulled out he was just pulling out a lot of stuff out of his ass. But it's like, bro, the thing I don't understand, maybe I read it wrong, but apparently Gojo didn't know the barrier techniques before. But during the actual fight, then it was like, then they switched it to, oh, it's not that he didn't know it, it's just that you couldn't teach it. You feel me? I might have read that wrong though. I don't know. I might have read that one wrong. But, you know, Gojo had to resort to barrier techniques, and then he had to resort to healing his curse technique with reverse curse technique, which was said by Yuta to be a very dangerous thing to do, and was also shown, which we also saw at the end, like, yo, if he kept doing that and Sukuna did not get damaged by the Unlimited Void, Sukuna would have killed him. Sukuna won the domain, but I don't know why so many people are saying that no, he lost at the end. Because even then, Gojo did not want to clash with Sukuna at the end, and we know this because he made Sukuna miss timing. He didn't, like, I don't know why. I don't know why it's so difficult to explain to people, like, yo, like, just because Sukuna used Maharaga to essentially break that domain, when Gojo was not trying to meet him head on in domain clashes, he was trying to subvert that and hit him straight with a limited void. And that's why he made a mistiming, so he had to use reverse curse technique. But no one's calling that out, because it's like, yo, everyone wants to be Unga Booga. It has to be a Dragon Ball fight where they're all fighting at 100% power levels, and it's just like, bro, but clearly Gojo was not trying to domain clash with Sukuna anymore. And Sukuna was happy to continue domain clashing, but obviously he missed timing, and he was like, okay, cool, I got hit by a limited void, but he had Maharaga, which his whole plan was to use Maharaga. He walked in that fight planning to use it. You know, I digress. Sukuna won the domain battles. Gojo won the curse technique battles, which I personally think the limitless technique is stronger than Cleveland Dismantle. Not sure about his true technique or anything like that, but you know, I said my piece. Let's get straight into the video anyway.
Sponsored by Tokyo Treat. Alright, so we got the 237 spoilers, and this chapter is just as exciting as the last couple that we've been getting. And the last chapter that we got, actually, we saw Gojo die at the hands of Sukuna. Throughout their fight, Sukuna was eventually able to figure out a way to cut through Gojo with the assistance of Maharaga. And after Gojo had died, Kashimo immediately jumped into the fight going against Sukuna. This is like Kashimo's entire motivation in the series. And he had said previously that he was going to do this if Gojo had died, or lost. And coming into this chapter, we see that before Kashimo can attack Sukuna, Urarame comes in, and they're on top of like this iceberg falling from the sky. So this makes sense that Urarame would be there because, you know, Urarame was still alive and is like Sukuna's right hand person. And before Sukuna had fought Gojo like just punched Urarame in the stomach, completely humiliated them. So I'm sure that if Sukuna was like losing to Gojo or something went wrong or something like that, Urarame would have stepped in and, you know, assisted Sukuna as they are here. But Hikari is coming in to battle against Urarame, and he says that he made a promise, so he can't let Urarame live. And Hikari opens his domain expansion, and Urarame activates ice formation against him. So this is awesome. The promise that he made, of course, is to Kashimo. That was kind of like like the agreement they made in their ceasefire, their truce that they made after their fight. It was like, hey, you know, I'll show you this guy Sukuna that you can fight. Because Hikari was like, oh, hey, you want to fight Sukuna? I know who that guy is. I'll show you him and you can fight him. And we also found out that Hikari's curse technique automatically opens his domain expansion. So that's why he's just going into it against Arame. And as the sphere closes around Hikari...
I thought you just... Okay. Okay,
and
never mind.
Arame, the iceberg starts to fall, and it suddenly evaporates, and Kashimo notices that it was all to deliver something to Sukuna, and that is the cursed tool which Yorozu constructed in exchange for Binding Vow of Death. Cursed Tool Kamotoke. So this is wild for multiple reasons. So first of all, it turns out that, yeah, Yorozu did in fact construct a cursed tool using construction on her deathbed. We were talking about this back when it happened, and I thought that this was very likely a possibility. I mean, I assume a lot of us did, but there was also a lot of us that thought that Yorozu wasn't capable of this. But no, Yorozu can, and she did. And I also thought that she was, because it was paralleling, or at least I thought it was, to Maki and Mai. Because Mai, a fellow user of the construction curse technique, as she was dying, she crafted the soul-cutting sword for Maki. And with the development of this, I'm pretty sure that that is supposed to parallel to that. And that also makes me think that Sukuna is paralleling to Maki in some way overall as a character in the series. And I'll go more into that later. But one of the other interesting things is that the cursed tool Kamutoke is what the Vajra looks like. The thing that we've been talking about usually when we talk about Kashimo. The Vajra being the Hindu god weapon given to Indra, which is like the lightning weapon. Super powerful thing. And I thought that this was going to be associated with Kashimo in some way, because Kashimo was straight up called the god of thunder at the end of the previous chapter. But no, not at all. It is in fact given to Sukuna. And that's not so surprising, because the Vajra, or the Kamutoke tool itself, we've already seen Sukuna with this. I think it was the cover of chapter 117 or 119 or whatever. My editor, Mr. Him the Goat, will have it on the screen. The cover page where we first saw Sukuna in his prime. I mean, aside from when Gojo first talks about him in the first season, he's holding this Kamutoke or whatever, something that looks like it, which of course is something that looks like the Vajra. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Tokyo Treat. Tokyo Treat is a monthly
get your money up, man.
subscription box where you'll get up to 20 of the latest, most exclusive, limited with Tokyo Japanese cola.
No, to be fair, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll probably get some of this because this does look pretty cool. But no, get your money up, man. Hold on, wait. Did I just see Kit Kats? What? Sweet potato Kit. You know, before I die, no, I have to visit Japan at least once because I need to see like what all of this is about.
He had this since Yorozu associated with Sukuna back in the day. Like, after they had fought in that flashback, I assume Yorozu healed up and fought him again and had multiple encounters with him. We'd eventually had to get to the point of where Yorozu made the deal with Kenjaku to become a cursed tool to be brought back for the Culling game anyway. And another thing that makes me think that is what Sukuna says next in these spoilers here, because he launches an electric attack on Kashimo with the cursed weapon, and he says, "Good old times." So yeah, I do think that Sukuna did have this back in the day, but I guess he lost it or it was broken or something. And also, as we can see the electric attack coming from it, I think, you know, for sure solidifies that this is based off of the Vajra. I mean, the aesthetic is just the dead giveaway there alone, but the electric attack is understandable, but I don't think that this is the only thing that it can do. I think it could probably do more than that, because Kashimo is resistant to this. His cursed energy has made him resistant. When Kashimo fought against Hikari, we found out that his cursed energy had the properties of like an electric current. So understandable that he's unaffected by Sukuna's attacks here, which is awesome because I didn't want him to be instantly taken out, of course, the way that Ryu was. But then Kashimo asked Sukuna, like, did you become the strongest, or were you born as the strongest? This is awesome. And I also think this is supposed to parallel between Geto and Gojo. You know, asking him, like, are you the strongest because you're Gojo, or are you...
So I'll admit, like, again, I'm gonna go into the Gojo and Sukuna fight again. I'm not gonna lie to you. Gojo was Sukuna's Toji. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I think that's what it's paralleling. So eventually, Sukuna, I'm assuming, is gonna fight Yuji, who he's gonna deem the challenger, and Yuji's gonna beat him to become the strongest. That's what I'm assuming is gonna happen. But you know.
Gojo because you're the strongest. And I think in this case, it's also supposed to go into Sukuna's backstory. And I'll talk more about it in my actual review of the chapter later this week. But I think that the answer is that he was for sure not born the strongest. Going back to what I was talking about with Sukuna, I think him paralleling to Maki. I think that he probably did have a sibling like mine. And, something happened and it goes into why he has 4 arms and 2 faces. But, yeah, he is not like Gojo. Gojo was, for sure, born the strongest. Born with 6 eyes and limitless. I do not think that Sukuna was born with such a privilege. Sukuna replies that he doesn't know because he was an unwanted child. So that's the most that we've gotten into Sukuna's deep backstory, I guess, right? Kashimo asks, how did Sukuna interact with others without knowing weakness? Or how did he show affection/mercy? Because Kashimo says that he couldn't do so. He saw all other humans as pieces of dirt. Kashimo asks Sukuna to teach him if strength is to be alone and find a place to properly show your powers. Is it the punishment of the strong people? Sukuna calls Kashimo as extravagant and says even Gojo was the same. Sukuna taps his head with the weapon and calls upon Kashimo to fight. So this is like the crux of Kashimo. And going back to the parallels on characters between characters in this chapter, I also think this is probably supposed to have Kashimo paralleling to Sukuna. Going back to what Yorozu was talking about him and what we saw also talked about during Sukuna's fight with Gojo about how, he was supposed to be shown love that he was never shown before because his isolation from being the strongest. Or I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I'm talking about. So Kashimo, I guess, kind of experienced something similar in his time, around 400 years ago. I mean, that's the whole reason why he agreed to join the culling.
So I can't lie, someone said something funny, but they were like, Kashimo has one of the biggest flexes in JJK. He got to live to see old age. He's not wrong, though. He's not wrong.
Game and be reborn in the first place. And they really start fighting now. And Kashimo tries to land a hit on Sukuna using his staff, but Sukuna blocks it with his weapon. And Kashimo moves back and activates his curse technique, Genju Kohasaku. And it translates to something like Phantom Amber Beast. After landing a punch on Sukuna's face, Kashimo loads a breath type attack and it blasts it at Sukuna. The narrator explains that Kashimo's curse technique remakes his body to be able to blast any kind of attack, which Kashimo can make from his cursed energy. Kashimo manages to land another punch. His curse technique enhances his agility, and the waves he blasts evaporates anything that they touch. But Kashimo surpasses the human body to make this happen. Thus, once his curse technique ends, Kashimo's body will break. So that is insane, guys. Wow, guys. So that is absolutely wild. Finally, we're seeing Kashimo's curse technique. Something that he said he can only use once, which is being said here at the end. We're finding out why he can only use it once. This also reminds me of Boros from the end of One Punch Man Season 1, like his final form, Meteoric Burst. It has similar parameters, also similar aesthetic and moveset in the way that he acts and behaves with the similar drawbacks and everything, right? Because that's what Kashimo's curse technique essentially does. I guess it's making him both like a tangible human and cursed energy at the same time, because as it's saying, it remakes his body, but he becomes like the cursed energy flowing through him itself. So that allows him to become more malleable and free flowing, but also faster, better agility, and he can also fire off these waves and blasts from like his palm, his mouth, and they're super powerful, obviously. So like the way that he's moving and he looks, it's like Meteor Burst Boros or like Super Saiyan. Like this is pretty much
Super
Saiyan with the abilities of a Super Saiyan, more or less. I mean, aside from like flying and stuff. Like imagine if Goku himself became a part of the aura or the ki that he emits while he's in Super Saiyan. Like that's what Kashimo is doing here. Pretty wild. Something that I did not expect. I thought that Kashimo was just going to do like a giant like lightning bolt or something from the sky that takes up like a portion of the city. No,
all that's reminding me of Bumbleclot. All that's reminded me of is Naruto Storm and Sasuke's, I forgot what they call it now. Like before he went, before he got all the press and got his EMS, like when he had Kieran, he was like with the Thunderclap. That's all that's reminded me of, fam. Let me keep that playing.
With this, and it's pretty cool. But as we can see here, it is pretty powerful enough to force an exhausted Sukuna to do something we haven't seen him before, because the narrator then begins explaining that Sukuna had a method of reviving his original body only once without using reverse curse technique, but Sukuna had eventually halted it. So I guess this goes back to what Hirozu was talking about when she said to Sukuna that he could probably change his face back, and I thought that meant that he could just like aesthetically change his face back to like what it was originally while still just being in Megumi's body, if that makes sense. But I guess it also meant that he can like just change back to his old body, something I've been waiting to see for the longest time, and I thought maybe he wasn't capable of doing it because he didn't have all 20 fingers. But no, he could do it, because at the end of the chapter the narrator says the transformation of reincarnation has been restarted, and we see Prime Sukuna in his true form. 4 arms with all of the tattoos, 2 faces with the messed up right side, and he's holding the Kamutoki just like he was back in the day. And there's a bunch of smoke coming from him as well. Really awesome panel. This is going to be iconic for sure. Finally, Sukuna is back, and I don't know what to make of this. Obviously, there's a reason why he didn't do this against Sukuna. Probably because it was detrimental. And it also is specifically being stated he can only do it once. And also it's saying that it has been restarted. That's a weird way of putting it. Maybe the translations will be different across the board, you know, but now that he's back, what does this mean for Megumi? Is Megumi dead? No. I refuse to believe that Megumi died from this series. It's like, what happened to his body? Is it still there? Has it just been morphed? Is his soul being altered? I think that's what's going on here, right?
His soul got hit by like 3 elemental voids. I think he's gone. I ain't gonna lie to you, I think he's gone. Or he's gonna come out just like knowing everything or something like that.
Because if Mahito could do that, you know, I'm sure that's what Sukuna is doing here. He's just altering his soul. But it also makes me wonder, like, where is the last finger? Now that Gojo's dead, is it like, was he just holding the finger in a pocket dimension or something? The way that Tengen can hold it? Or maybe that has something to do with Tengen's barrier abilities that Gojo can't do, maybe. But where is the last finger? It doesn't even matter anymore. I think it does, right? Because it's implied that Sukuna's soul is spread throughout all 20 fingers. So
no, you know that's brazy. That is brazy, though. He's still got 1 more finger left, man. Nah, man. See, that's my goat right there, Sukuna.